Hey, Michelle, I hear you. Yeah, with an anchor or no anchor? Copy, copy. All right, everybody, as you join us live on abc7.com and our ABC7 streaming networks, you can see we are live over a shooting scene here in Orange County in Trabuco Canyon. At Santiago Canyon Road and Live Oak Canyon Road, there is a massive police presence by the Orange County Sheriff's Department with no less than 24 units already on the scene down there, perhaps more at this point. You can see there are several body bags down there, tarps covering victims in front of Cook's Corner Bar and Grill at the corner of Live Oak and El Toro Road. A massive scene down there with a lot of unknowns, but to suffice to say, there's bodies in front of the establishment. There is a report of a body in the back near a beer garden of Cook's Corner. This all happening within the last hour or so. I can tell you that the Orange County Sheriff's Department tells ABC7 that there have been 9 people shot at this location this evening and that the suspect is no longer a threat. We do not know the disposition of that suspect. What we can tell you is that aside from the apparent victims that we see around this building, there is also at least one, possibly more, deputy being treated inside of an ambulance right there on the corner. So there is a command center being established down the block here, but a massive presence right there on the corner of Live Oak Canyon and El Toro Road here in Trabuco Canyon. Again, a lot of unanswered questions here as we try and gather some more information on what exactly transpired here. But this is known as a historic biker bar here in Orange County. You can see Orange County Fire Rescue down there with numerous ambulances standing by. So far, we've only observed the 1 or 2 deputies inside one of those ambulances. Other than that, we have no idea what law enforcement is facing inside of that building. But this is something that is still developing. But while we know that, we don't know. Excuse me. Copy that. Okay, copy that. While this is a developing story and we work with our assignment desk to get some more details, we should mention that this does no longer appear to be an active scene. Whatever happened here appears to be contained to this restaurant, to this establishment. Once again, if you're familiar, this is Cook's Corner Bar and Grill at Live Oak Canyon and Santiago Canyon, where Santiago Canyon meets El Toro Road. You can see us looking for some additional vehicles around the building here, looking for license plates, trying to gather, again, whatever information we can. There are deputies walking around this crime scene. Again, from our vantage point up here in Air 7 HD, a total of 3 people visible from up here, 3 victims in this horrific incident. Copy that. Once again, if you're just joining us on ABC7.com, Chris Christie up in Air 7 HD covering breaking news in Orange County this evening. We are over Trabuco Canyon where there has been a mass shooting at a biker bar and grill. It's Cook's Corner Bar and Grill, a famous establishment here at San Diego Canyon Road and El Toro Road, right at the intersection of Live Oak Canyon. You can see the front of the building there, which is now a crime scene where there are a couple of bodies near the front of the property, an additional victim being covered up in the rear of the property, and a massive crime scene that has been established here at this location. Again, the Orange County Sheriff's Department confirms that 9 people total have been shot. The suspect appears to be in custody. We do not know the condition of that suspect, but apparently that suspect is no longer a threat. A mass shooting happening here earlier this evening in the last hour or two at Cook's Corner Bar and Grill here in Orange County. Copy that. Okay, great. Say that again, Michelle. Copy that. suspect. Somebody. All right, we're getting a glimpse of somebody in handcuffs at the scene down there in front of Cook's Corner Bar and Grill. You can see his hands behind his back, a shirtless individual. We do not know if this is the suspect in question, but you can see him now being walked to a patrol car right in front of the crime scene. Not sure where they came from. We just spotted this in the last few seconds as deputies escort this person out to the front of this crime scene. Again, about to place him into a sheriff's vehicle. You can see that person has their hands behind their back and is in handcuffs. Again, we do not know what the relation is to this crime scene, if this is the suspect in question here. We only know that the suspect has been taken into custody. We do not know the condition of that suspect, if this is that person, the shooter, or another party related to this incident. In any event, you can see our first glimpse of somebody being detained here at the corner of Live Oak Canyon and Santiago Canyon Road. Again, this is a wide shot of that crime scene where there are several bodies located, including some in front of the building near the street there, somebody in the parking lot covered up, as well as the remains of a third victim behind the building near possible beer garden back there. You can see a huge police presence by the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the FBI responding out here as well to this active crime scene. Again, this is a mass shooting in Orange County in Trabuco Canyon at Cook's Corner Bar and Grill. We are continuing to gather more information. Keep it right here. Copy. Is that a fourth? Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a listen to a soundbite just coming into our newsroom. Again, you're looking at continuing coverage here on ABC7.com of a mass shooting here in Orange County at a biker bar called Cook's Corner Bar and Grill at Santiago Canyon Road and Live Oak Canyon, where we're just getting a soundbite in from a biker who was on his way to Spaghetti Night here at Cook's Corner. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that bite right now.
Yeah, we got passed by CHP, and as we got about a block away from Cook's, they diverted us, they turned us around, and we went turned right? And that's how we ended up here. We have friends that are in the bar right now waiting for us.
Have you been in contact with your friends?
I have been in contact with them.
So they're safe?
Yeah, they're safe. They're upset, of course. I mean, when you got multiple shots being fired around you, they were right next to the shooter. He said it was an older man with a gray beard. So it's pretty chaotic.
All right. Anything else to add?
No, not really. I mean, it's just safe that we didn't make it there, but for them, I feel for them because they're really upset.
And there you have it, a biker who was on his way to Cook's Corner this evening with a third-hand report from witnesses inside of the building. Obviously, it must have been pure chaos in the moments following the shooting that happened at about 7:30 this evening, just about 1 hour ago. We can tell you that at least nine people have been shot. 3 people have been killed. The shooter is down and in custody. We do not know exactly what that means in terms of, was he shot? We just don't know. Was he taken into custody some other way? We really don't have a clear description of that suspect. We did see somebody just a moment ago being escorted out of the building in handcuffs, but we do not know his relation to this incident. But you can see a massive police presence that is forming here, right here at the corner of Santiago Canyon Road and Live Oak Canyon Road at Cook's Corner Bar and Grill. This is a Wednesday night. The M Street Band was taking the stage at the time of this shooting. They posted a little bit of video in the moments before they arrived. They were setting up here at this location before they started performing at 6:30 this evening. Their Instagram account has that latest video. We have some other reports regarding the FBI on their way out here as well. So numerous agencies will be handling this investigation, but obviously a horrific evening here in Trabuco Canyon. Once again, we're continuing to circle the scene of a mass shooting here in Orange County. You're looking at Cook's Corner Bar and Grill here in Trabuco Canyon, where there is a massive Orange County Sheriff's presence here. The FBI out here as well, conducting an investigation into a shooting that happened just about an hour ago involving multiple fatalities, at least 3 that we can confirm, and additional patients shot. We do know that the suspect in this case has been taken into custody in unknown condition. This is no longer an active shooting, but this is still a very much active crime scene. As you can see, fire trucks down there, ambulances as well, including deputies, at least one deputy that we saw inside one of those ambulances who appeared to be appeared as though he was being treated inside of that ambulance. We don't have any confirmation in terms of law enforcement injuries, but that ambulance right there, there are a couple of deputies in there attending to one of their own. So we'll try and get some more confirmation in regards to that. You can see law enforcement officers walking through the parking lot here, a number of bikes. This is a historic and legendary biker bar here in Orange County where violence broke out about an hour ago inside at the bar of the Cook's Corner Bar and Grill. Of course, we're going to continue to bring you the very latest right here on ABC7.com. Yeah. Let's go.
tape up. I need you to get back, please. Okay. Hey, right now. Hey, go.
Yep, copy. You got it.
Sorry, this is the crime scene. We're putting tape up. I need you to get back, please. Okay. Hey, right now. Hey, go.
How are we doing on fuel? Copy that.
All right, I'm David Ono coming to you live from our ABC 7 studios, and we are covering this mass shooting. Chris Christie has been overhead in Air 7 HD. Chris, great job. Thank you for staying with us on this as we gather more information. Like every major story like this where information is slow to come, we'll give you what we get when we get it. So this is what we know so far. As many as 10 people were shot tonight at this landmark. They call it a biker bar in Trabuco Canyon. The details that are immediately available are that there is some sort of a shooting that may have been the result of some sort of a domestic situation. A gunman opened fire, killing his wife, and then opening fire on the crowd. How many are dead is still not known for sure. The reports range from 3 to 5 dead, and of course, transported to the hospital, so that number may change, whatever that number is right now. Authorities are still trying to determine what exactly happened, what time this went down, but this is all happening in what's called Cook's Corner. It sits at the junction of El Toro, Santiago Canyon, and Live Oak Canyon Road. If you're familiar with that area, this place has been around for a long, long time. The history goes way back to the early 1930s when Earl Jack Cook, who was a descendant of the landowner at that time, Andrew Jackson Cook, who bought the land in 1884. Earl Jack Cook opened his hamburger joint in 1931, and soon after Prohibition ended in 1933, alcohol was then added to the menu. Cook's Corner became a full-fledged bar. Soon after that, 1946, Cook bought an old mess hall from the Santa Ana Army Air Base, hauled it up to Toro Road, and the tavern was born, and it has been extremely popular ever since. So the better part of the 1900s into this century. But as you could see, tragedy struck tonight. We're getting reports that this gunman may be a member of law enforcement, but we're trying to verify that. But that is coming to us from several sources. We're trying to garner more information when it comes to that. I want to bring in Bruce Thomas, who is our law enforcement expert. And then, Bruce, this is too early for you to give us any information here, but when it becomes a major situation like this, the investigation is underway, what do we need to keep in mind, and what is law enforcement thinking about right now?
Well, obviously, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out with everybody involved. But law enforcement has a job to do. They will get there. They will render it safe, which apparently they've already done. And then they will go through, start rendering aid to those victims, get those transported. If you do have deceased bodies on scene, it's a crime scene. And they're going to have to go through and process that as they would anything else. They're going to reach out to their partners, the ATF, the FBI, maybe some additional crime lab personnel, and they just methodically have to go through the scene as it sits right now before they start looking for videotapes and obviously get eyewitness accounts.
All right, we're looking at the scene right now. There's a good shot of Cook's Corner. You can see this famous bar that so many people have been frequenting, and you can see all the the motorcycles out in front. That's why they call it a biker bar. But I know for a fact this has been a mainstay in this community in many different ways. The fact that these are motorcycles doesn't necessarily mean the Hells Angels are hanging out there. It's just one of those community places where people love to ride their motorcycles and then stop in and enjoy some food and enjoy some drinks. But something horribly tragic went wrong here. Bruce, when it comes to getting information on a scene like this, how long is the wait, and what do we have to consider as law enforcement is trying to kind of sift through everything that happened?
Well, the first thing, they get the radio calls, the 911 calls. Officers respond. Obviously, it's a very chaotic scene, people rushing out, officers trying to contain it. And do they have an active shooter situation? So they're ascertaining all those things very, very quickly. And then they're also requesting additional resources. But one of the things, like you mentioned, is it a biker bar, or is it kind of just a place where people with motorcycles on a nice evening come to hang out as friends?
Yeah, right. Okay, and it looks like that truck right there, that SUV, does have a shattered window. They're showing that over on the passenger side right there. So whatever went down probably went down on the outside as well as the inside. Considering all the people that were getting reports of that were shot, as many as 10, you could see how this thing would flow from inside to outside. Of course, we don't know the specifics on what exactly happened. There are rumors that this could be some sort of a domestic violence issue that then expanded from there. And there's also talk that the gunman initially was a retired member of law enforcement, but that has not been officially confirmed just yet. But you could see the scene right there. Detectives are spread out all over the place. It's important, Bruce, that you pointed out, because I didn't, that this is now a safe space. The gunman is not on the run. He's not on the loose. Reports are that he is perhaps dead, but how, we don't know. If it was self-inflicted or if law enforcement showed up. Have you heard anything at all, if there was any action that the law enforcement had to take when they arrived on the scene?
Unofficially, through my channels, I'm hearing that there was not a law enforcement engagement. that the suspect, after being involved in the shooting with people in the bar, took his own life. But once again, I'm not going to go on record as saying that, but that's just what I'm hearing unofficially.
Well, we appreciate you giving us the little that you have, and that's exactly what we had heard from multiple sources as well. But you could tell this is not an active scene. It's mainly an investigation right now. If I could bring Chris Christie into the conversation. Chris, I know you've been talking a lot, but when it comes to just the fundamentals here, the basics coming and going from this area, could this affect traffic in a major way, or is this more of a smaller spot that is not going to affect a lot of people?
Yeah, this shouldn't affect too many people, David. Santiago Canyon Road leads right up into the mountain here. There's neighborhoods surrounding here, but this is not a well-trafficked area. So there's some good news there in terms of the effect on the community traffic-wise. While you were talking to Bruce, I was just watching some new video that was posted on Facebook that we are working to get permission to air, but I can tell you what I saw. It does appear to be eyewitness video in the moments after this shooting, and it appears to have come from the parking lot of the Cook's Corner Bar and Grill, and you can clearly hear there was an attempt at performing CPR on certain people. There were a number of stretchers being rolled out, so ambulances had already arrived in those initial minutes, and the eyewitness that I just heard referenced the suspect going to the rear of the property, and this is starting to coincide with what we're seeing here and even what Bruce Thomas just reported. Let's go ahead and widen out and bring the camera back over to that white pickup truck, which appears to be the suspect's pickup truck. It was said that he was arriving in that pickup truck, and eventually, after the initial shooting, which is full of details we're trying to piece together, as you mentioned, a possible domestic dispute at the bar, he then went back to his truck, and the eyewitness assumed that he was going back to reach for more ammunition to reload. But now, in the last couple of minutes, we noticed this tent that is going up in the very far corner of the property that it's like completely out of the way, almost as if somebody was trying to hide back here. And this would be a fourth victim that they are now paying attention to, a fourth body on the scene down there that is in a corner underneath that tree, and there's now a tent going up over that body. Is that the suspect? We cannot say that for sure, but it starts to line up with the eyewitness video that I've seen, as well as what we're hearing from other sources. Again, there's a lot of fluid details. Just in the time that we've been here, the total number of casualties has been a bit fluid. You can see a woman being treated still in an ambulance. I should mention, David, in the moments that we arrived shortly after 8 o'clock, I could tell you that there was at least one deputy in one of these ambulances who also appeared to be getting treatment. It appeared to be very minor. He was sitting up on a stretcher. There were other deputies in there with him, but we can report that there have been numerous injuries. At least 4 people are dead, and additional victims taken to local hospitals. Again, a frantic scene down there. There are other pictures that have not yet been published, but also appear to be coming from inside of that bar. Needless to say, David, it is a bloody and gruesome crime scene inside of this bar. Yeah,
just for clarification, and you don't need to move the camera, but I'm seeing white sheets as well as that tent that you pointed out. There are bodies there, or is that just medical paraphernalia?
That does appear to be a victim. There's one victim near the street, a second victim that's in the parking lot, and then a third victim that we counted in the rear of the property. There's the victim on the street. You saw the one in the parking lot, and then a third victim near the beer garden, which is right behind this tree that you're looking at right here. So 3 victims that we first counted, and just in the last 2 minutes, we've discovered yet a 4th person deceased right there in a very obscure part of this property underneath that tree, which is certainly raising lots of questions in my mind, but it does coincide with what that eyewitness did report, which was that the shooter went back towards his truck in the rear of the property, possibly to reload, but maybe it was to commit suicide. We certainly don't have that information confirmed yet, but that is some of the details we'll be looking for answers to here in the coming minutes.
Yeah, okay, well, it's just, yeah, as you said, it's gruesome, it's tragic. And then that is what's outside. Who knows what's on the inside of this place. So let's give you what we have so far, and that is let me run you through some video. First of all, we do know that there was an arrest that took place on this property, but as you watch this video, I want you to understand that this may not have anything to do with what happened here. It may have to do with the fact that somebody might be trespassing or in a place that they shouldn't be. So that's this video right here. You see this man with cuffs behind him, and we don't want to overemphasize what this video might mean, but just by the way they're handling this, he may just be somebody who is ornery and is not abiding by what they're telling him. That's the suspicion. Maybe he doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the actual horrible crime that took place here. In fact, since we have Bruce on with us, Bruce, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you do have individuals. I'm sure everybody kind of knows everybody at this bar. And obviously with the tragedy and emotions running high, this might have been somebody that was overtaken by emotion and tried to interfere with the deputies and law enforcement personnel. And so for his safety and everybody else's, they handcuffed him until they can get him or her, and I think it's a him, calmed down.
Okay. Hey, Bruce,
Okay.
while you were saying that's
David,
a good,
can you hear me?
That's a good point, Bruce. And yes, I can hear you, Chris.
Yeah, so some new information that is certainly shedding more light on the situation down there. We can now report that Orange County Sheriff's deputies did engage in an officer-involved shooting with the suspect, and we can now report that the shooter is indeed dead. So, again, is it the fourth body behind the property? We don't know that for sure, but at some point after officers arrived, or perhaps they may have already been at this location, maybe even off-duty officers, we don't know for sure.
Yes.
They did engage with the suspect, and we can now report that that shooter is dead, and that other person who we did observe being detained when we first arrived on scene, we just, as you mentioned, we can't report what his involvement was at this point.
Right. Okay. So that's some clarification there. And that is interesting, the new information that we're getting. So there was some sort of exchange or an involvement with other people and law enforcement and the gunman. So maybe he didn't take his own life. So this is how these stories come together. Let's not jump to conclusions either on that part of it either, but we're slowly kind of putting the pieces of this puzzle together. What we do know is, yeah, as Chris said, officially, the suspect is said to be dead. In addition to that, there are, Michelle, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring my producer in on this. Michelle, 4 total or 4 others? 4 total. Okay. Oh, so the gunman is dead, and he adds to the total of 4 people confirmed dead. That's where we are right now on this situation. There was some sort of officer involvement, but as Chris pointed out, it could have been somebody who was there off duty. We just don't know. Maybe that has something to do with that one white tent that was going up near the SUV that had the shattered windows. We're just not sure, so we're trying to put this thing together. Bruce, back to you. Thank you so much for clarifying on that suspect. We do have some other video to get to as well. We've done the arrest. Michelle, the biker, we do have a witness. He was on his way to the scene, and he did speak. So let's hear what he had to say. Stand by, it's coming.
Yeah, and we got passed by a CHP, and as we got about a block away from Cooks, they diverted us. They turned us around, and we went turned right. And that's how we ended up here. We have friends that are in the bar right now waiting for us.
Have you been in contact with your friends?
I have been in contact with them.
So they're safe?
Yeah, they're safe. They're upset, of course. I mean, when you got multiple shots being fired around you, they were right next to the shooter. He was an older man with a gray beard. So it's pretty chaotic.
All right. Anything else to add?
No, not really. I mean, it's just safe that we didn't make it there, but for them, I feel for them because they're really upset.
All right, that jives with what a lot of the information is that's coming out. Older man with a beard. They did say this might be a retired law enforcement, and it may have started as some sort of domestic issue. And then the next thing you know, this tragedy occurs. There is one other, Michelle, we have video of the SUV that we've been talking about, right? A close-up shot of that? Okay, stand by. In the meantime, you're looking at some other video of these are some folks who are being treated. And this is, if you look closely, yeah, this is another angle from that truck that we've been talking about that does have what appears to be shattered windshield and perhaps bullet holes in it. And now that I've looked closer from this angle, you can see both the front seat and the back seat passenger side are shattered, and it looks like a dent off the top too. So if those are all the results of gunfire, then clearly a number of bullets were flying. You see those dents off the top too. Not sure. Bruce, I know it's tough to speculate, but any thoughts on what you're seeing right now?
You know, it's very reminiscent of the borderline shooting. You have a bar with a lot of people that know each other inside. The shooter may have been one of those. And it just becomes a very, very deep, hurting tragedy to the community. And law enforcement, I would assume, probably has gone in there off hours also. So they may know some of these victims that they're dealing with. And it becomes a very, very hard scene to process.
You know, the borderline bar, that's absolutely true. In fact, I found my mind going there, even though I didn't talk about it. It does, now that you've said it, so many interesting parallels to that. And, you know, a fun night that then turns really dark because of one person, and then innocent bystanders all over the place. And you could only imagine what happened. I'm glad that the gentleman on the motorcycle gave us that interview, because he said he was meeting his friends. His friends are inside. They're okay, but obviously they're really upset. They were right next to the gunman, described as an older man with a gray beard. But his friends are okay. But keep in mind, we're getting reports that as many as 10 people may have been shot in this incident.
That's right.
So there's a lot of victims. Chris?
Yeah, I was going to say, David, we have new numbers that have now been firmed up by not only the Orange County Sheriff's Department, but also the Orange County Fire Authority. Again, worth reiterating, the numbers have been fluid over the last hour, but this is the most up-to-date information from authorities. There are 4 people dead at the scene. That coincides with what we've witnessed here just in the last few minutes. 3 in the park, or 3 in the front, or 2 in the front, 1 in the beer garden, and then that 4th person that we discovered near the rear, who very well may be that suspect, who is now confirmed deceased. So 4 people dead total, 6 people transported to local hospitals. 5 of those 6 people did receive gunshot wounds, so a 6th person transported with non-gun related injuries, but 6 total at local hospitals. So that would come out to about 10 people, 4 dead on the scene, 6 at the hospital, 5 of those being gunshot wounds.
Right. Okay. And then, of course, as you discovered recently, this did end as an officer-involved shooting. The situation on that, the details on that, we don't know yet. And we don't know if it was an officer response or somebody who happened to be already on the scene. We just don't know, but we'll eventually get to the bottom of it. You see some progress on the scene as they try to cover up bodies the best that they can. And Bruce, CHP is involved in this. Why would that be?
Well, just like the borderline incident, when you have an active shooter, it goes out under a mutual aid broadcast. So the local PD hears it, CHP under Claymores hears it, and any other agencies in that area that share frequencies hear that radio call and start to respond. So CHP probably was in the area. They heard the call. They responded. And they may have actively been involved in the taking down of the suspect.
Right. And then I recall in the borderline incident, the CHP was there as well, right?
That's correct. They were patrolling the unincorporated area of the county of Ventura. They heard the radio call. They arrived on scene. And with active shooter training and protocol, they went in and engaged the suspect. Unfortunately, there was a tragic loss of life in that case. A Ventura County sergeant. Yeah,
that was absolutely terrible. But yeah, you're right. So many interesting points when it comes to that situation and this one, and this one reminds us of that terrible night as well. We could see that all the motorcycles are lined up in the parking lot as well, so people aren't allowed to move anything, right? And so for the people who witnessed this, are they generally still there somewhere? Or do they bring them somewhere else, Bruce?
Yeah, David, great point. as you see all the motorcycles there, everybody that was in the bar now is a potential witness. They are not free to leave at this point. They will start to interview them, take photos of them, get phone numbers, names, addresses, all that information. Some may not be able to talk to law enforcement. They may be overcome with grief, but they will be contacted in the next 24 to 48 hours to piece together this puzzle, as you said. But no one is free to leave until they at least give some sort of preliminary statement. And, of course, nothing can be moved until bodies are recovered and the crime lab and the technicians, including the ATF and the FBI, are on scene and start to process this scene.
Does the ATF and FBI show up this quickly, or are they on their way?
They are probably on their way. If maybe some may already be there, depending on how quickly they live there. But this is an all hands on deck, and because there are firearms involved, the ATF will lend their support, and the FBI, which are evidence gatherers and very proficient in that and documentation, will assist the Orange County Crime Lab technicians.
All right, I'm getting a couple of new details here. We will have a press conference, it looks like, at 10:30 at Saddleback Church, which is nearby. In the meantime, we're also getting word that we have some new video in. This is from an eyewitness who shot the video. She was at the bar at the time. We don't know if she was inside or outside. I haven't seen this video yet, so let's take a look.
That's the truck. He came in, he went back to reload and bring more guns, and the cops found him. That's my prison. Glad I didn't die. He shot like 4 or 6 at me and missed. Oh my God.
All right, there's 2 bits and pieces of video. I had a hard time hearing what she said, but it sounded like she was describing the gunman then going back to his vehicle, and they thought maybe reloading, but I think she alluded to a possible confrontation with police. Did you guys hear that as well?
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense and coincides with what we're seeing here. So I think that video was being shot near the right-hand corner of our screen here, actually near the intersection in front of the parking lot, and she was pointing that camera, that cell phone, down Santiago Canyon Road towards the left, towards the rear of the bar, which is where that pickup truck still lies. In fact, you can see the pickup truck in question as we come around here right behind this tree. It's actually difficult to make out the truck itself, but it's actually right behind the tree. Right there is the truck that she was pointing at. She saw the suspect running back here. She reported a confrontation with law enforcement, which we now know there was an officer-involved shooting, and now just steps away over to the left is right where that suspect is believed to be deceased. So that is starting to make a lot of sense with the information coming into our assignment desk. The other 3 injuries that are, the other 3 fatalities, I should say, that are in the front of the establishment appear to be patrons of the bar. Of course, we don't know exactly their role, but appear to be patrons during spaghetti night here at Cook's Corner. Apparently garners a big crowd. Lots of people come out for the spaghetti, and the M Street Band, which was also playing this evening, they reportedly took the stage at around 6:30. The shooting happened right around 7:30 when the bullets started flying and this entire bar emptied out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, as odd as it sounds, spaghetti night is an important detail in all of this because it's such a popular night that so many people were there. With more people there, the more danger they're in if a shooting does break out. And by the way, our producer is kind of pointing out to me that this witness says that he shot at her as well, but missed, and did confirm the confrontation between law enforcement and the gunman. So bits and pieces are coming together. Chris, I know you're going to have to bolt pretty soon to regas, and you'll join us again, but I do want to point out that, as I mentioned, Saddleback Church is going to be the site of a press conference that we're expecting around 10:30, so a little bit over an hour from now. And Jory Rand is standing by. He is at the church preparing for the press conference. Jory?
Yeah, this is a massive complex at Saddleback Church, and the Orange County Sheriff's Department using this as the command post, the staging area for the law enforcement response. We're actually about 2 miles, a little over 2 miles south across Highway 241 from Cook's Corner Bar where this took place, and there are multiple agencies here. I'm not sure we can see it right now, but when we first got here, we saw the bright FBI orange letters emblazoned on back of some jackets. We know the Sheriff's Department is here, and we saw the Orange County District Attorney's Office representatives were here, which would make sense if this was an officer-involved shooting, which the Orange County Sheriff's Department says it was. Whether that was an off-duty officer, what jurisdiction they were from, we're hearing rumors from some people here on, at the command post of it might not have been a Ventura, or it might have not have been an Orange County officer who was the officer who took this shooter down. But again, unconfirmed reports. We're waiting for that 10:30 press conference, and you can see a large response here. Although the tone, the energy here is very businesslike. It does not seem panicked. And of course, as David and Chris have mentioned several times, this harkens back some terrible memories of what happened at the Borderline Bar and Grill shooting. Coincidentally, we were one of the first crews on scene on that night. A bit of a different situation from what we saw those years ago out in Ventura County, where everything was happening around the bar. We got there, in fact, before a lot of law enforcement was on hand, and at Borderline, we saw victims just running across the road from just off the freeway from when we arrived. Here we are so far separated. They have set up this command post a good distance away, whereas for Borderline, I mean, we were pretty close to where that happened, and to the point where witnesses and victims were just walking down the street into this kind of staging area, and it was a bit of chaos around. This is much more orderly, a much different scene, of course, 2 miles up the road at the bar itself. But this is where they are handling all media. The roads up to the bar right now are closed in all directions, and we are awaiting that 10:30 press conference to just get some idea of how this played out, what jurisdiction, what department that officer was from that brought an end to this, and more information on the shooter and the victims as well. Of course, Orange County Sheriff's Department confirming 4 people dead, several others taken to the hospital, 5 other gunshot victims, and the Sheriff's Department has an entire stage that they are setting up for this press conference, David. But it just really bad memories anytime this happens. Our country's latest mass shooting, where unfortunately, I don't know if you can ever get used to it, but this is not unexpected for another mass shooting to happen in this country, in this state, and in this area when we've gone through so many of them before. But every time something happens like this, it brings up some really bad memories, especially when you're talking about a restaurant or a bar with one of the worst mass shootings that we've ever gone through at Borderline happening again here tonight in Orange County.
Absolutely. It is frightening. And, you know, you let your guard down sometimes. You were thinking about hurricanes and earthquakes, and here we go again. You'd love to forget about it, but, you know, society today, we just can't do that. So, yeah, a lot of memories from Borderline. Jory, thanks for reminding us about some of those details, because they become distant after a while. Bruce, if I could bring you back into the situation. I know we always kind of have high expectations when there's a press conference, but this press conference is happening within just 2 to 3 hours of the actual shooting. Are we really going to get much information, do you think?
No, you're not. It's all very, very preliminary information you're going to get. You're probably going to introduce some of the players, some of the law enforcement members that are there, ATF, FBI, Orange County Sheriffs, CHP, maybe some politicians, I'm sure, will also be there to lend their support to this. What you're going to get is the basic information. We have a shooting occur at the location. We have 4 or 5 people dead, 6 other injured, which were transported to local hospitals. And at this point, investigators are on scene and doing what they need to do.
Right. In the meantime, another beautiful, peaceful community that has been shattered. I mean, that whole area of Orange County it's a wonderful place to be if you can find a way to live down there in that kind of peace and quiet. But it has definitely been shattered and scarred for what happened there tonight, as you can see this very historic place that was a mainstay within this community for generations, literally generations. Just to remind you, this place was started by a man named Earl Jack Cook. And he opened it as a hamburger joint in 1931. and after Prohibition in 1933, it became a bar. And then he moved an old mess hall from the Santa Ana Armory Air Base, and he hauled it up there on El Toro Road. It became the tavern that we see now. And it has been going strong for, what is that, about 70, 80 years now that this has been a mainstay within this community. But fearfully, now it will be known, Cook's Corner, as the place where that horrible shooting took place. And Bruce, and I shouldn't be going to you all the time for these history lessons, but I think the Borderline Bar and Grill went away after that shooting as well. And I wonder if that is in the destiny of this place, if they could survive this.
Yeah, that's correct. And, and you're pointing out this place is so iconic and been around for so long that I'm willing to bet that everybody in that bar probably knew who the shooter was.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that probably if this is all true, this is a domestic situation, maybe he did frequent it with his wife that was his target today at one time. And, you see all these folks and they've all gone there on spaghetti night. And this might be one of their favorite nights of the week. And that might be where they all kind of gather and, catch up for whatever happened during that week. And it's such another one of those tragedies.
Yeah, David, if I could just interject with one point. A lot of these things go to the pinpoint of mental health. People have issues and they don't reach out. There's tons of resources out there. If he was retired law enforcement, those resources are there. And now also all the first responders and the other victims are going to require debriefing with mental health experts, because this is something that just sits on you and doesn't go away.
Yeah, and those are great points. People deal with stuff quite clearly. There is help out there, but we've been making this point really specifically in the last year or two when it comes to mental health is don't be fearful to find help. And this might be one of those situations where, with analysis, this person clearly could have used somebody's help. Okay, we want to get back.
Very much so.
Yeah, and that's a great point to make, and we'll try to continue on with that as this investigation progresses. Let's go back to Jory Rand, who is standing by where this press conference is going to take place. Jory?
Yeah, still waiting for them to assemble here. But David, you were talking about Borderline and how they closed. They actually moved to a second location because no one felt it was right to go back into that original location. It became a memorial of sorts, sacrosanct. They couldn't go back to business as usual. It brought up too many bad memories, and it's the site of where multiple people were killed, and blood spilled on that ground. And so the owners just couldn't do it. The community couldn't do it. And that's, once again, you talk about the spaghetti night here. At Borderline, it was a night of dancing, and that entire community used that bar as a meeting ground for an entire community to come together. And as you were mentioning, you wonder what's going to happen here, where blood is spilled, where people lost their lives, a place where people came to celebrate, whether this will become a living memorial, whether they'll be able to return to this. Every shooting scene in this country where multiple people died, you think about the lives affected, is exponential. It's not just the lives lost, it's the family members, it's the friends of the family, it's acquaintances, coworkers. Everyone in that circle is touched by it. And so when you start talking about such a large casualty list, the number of people who are affected by this in that community, whether it's going to be possible to continue with business as usual once this is all cleaned up, is always a question that is in doubt. And that will surely be the case here. We are just in the initial hours after this happened, but these people have to deal with this now for the rest of their lives, and all of their lives are now changed. It's a scene that we see too often, once again touching our community here in Orange County in Southern California.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for clarifying on what happened to Borderline, because that is a good study for what might be the future of this place as well. I don't know how you get over the fact that, people are seeing this video. We're watching it on all the different sources and resources. And, once you see a body lying on the ground in a specific place, you don't get over it and you don't forget it. So that will be part of the analysis and what happens to this place going forward. By the way, that press conference expected at 10:30. We're going to continue to gather some more information. We're going to break off just for a little while we investigate what we can. We'll come back for that press conference and, of course, on Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock. And let's say if there is a major development or a major discovery, we'll be back here as well. And always check our apps. We will be as quick as possible to disseminate information as quickly as we can. All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a little while.